Branding can seem to be a bit of a buzzword, and honestly, it's for good reason. Branding provides an opportunity for leaving a lasting impression. Just like iconic brands such as McDonald's and their M, Coca-Cola and just the color of red, and Apple and the apple, your brand can have the ability to evoke a feeling when seen. Those emotions, feelings of nostalgia that can be recalled just because of your brand. Branding is something that I've always taken very seriously. It might have a lot to do with my marketing degree, as well as my experience working in marketing. It has definitely carried over into my own personal brand, Life by MJ. People often say to me how my content appears so put together, which is a huge compliment because, as you all know, I have a lot of things going on the back ends. Most are just not aware of the curating, planning, and effort behind the scenes to make things happen. All the messaging must be aligned to your brand and to maintain your audience, to evoke those specific feelings and drive specific call to actions. On an IGTV Live that I did with Heart to Heart LLC, I spoke with their founder and president, Ashley Burney, about branding as well, on how to strive to have an impactful business. I've known Ashley for a number of years, as our paths have crossed here in Vegas many times, and her energy is probably as infectious as it is in person, well, probably even more infectious in person, and it carries over to her business as well. Heart to Heart provides a platform for women's empowerment, leadership, and motivation through events, media, dialogue, products, and more. To hear more actual steps on how to achieve a cohesive brand strategy across your social media platforms, tune in to this episode now. Hey, how are you doing?
I am doing amazing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining this evening. I tell you, I've done some bragging about you already, but I am going to be doing more throughout the night. But really just being able to have those tune in and hear some golden nuggets from someone who is really living in your bold. So funny because I always see there's something new and exciting. You never know what's coming, and you involve your baby and your family. And so I mentioned that Bold Spotlight is just that. It's connecting with other like-minded women who are living in their truth and being able to do it in their authentic way, which is important because there's only one of us, right? But when we join forces, then that's when so much beauty happens. Without further ado, I would love for you to introduce yourself to those who have not come across your platform, and then just share a little bit about what you offer and how you just do the dang thing every day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on your platform and sharing your platform tonight. I super appreciate it. And we've known each other for quite a while now, our paths crossed, and you're out there killing it as well, Mama. I watch as well and just watch inspired and motivated by all that you do as a mother, as a wife, with holding down your career as well as your dreams and goals. Like, you're doing it. Thank you.
No, it's coming, but it'll come in a minute.
But like you said before, thank you for the introduction. I am Mallory. I also go by MJ here on the internet, Life by MJ. I am a blogger, podcaster, influencer, and a social media strategist and coach as well. By day, I'm actually a project manager. I've been doing that for quite a few years, and it's actually been really helpful with my social media business in terms of just being organized and strategizing and helping people. Be perfectly honest with you, I am a mom. I'm also a wife to an amazing man in the Army National Guard as well, and he's super supportive of all of my endeavors and all the things I've got going on. Yeah, right.
I think they need to talk.
Right. Oh, really? I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without my husband. He's a big part of me dreaming big, honestly, and he encourages that. I am just so thankful that he's obviously in my life. He's just such a supportive force. I mean, he's very motivating to me in general. He's been in the Army for 20 years and has excelled tremendously. But this isn't about him.
Yeah, look, but you know what? But if we can put a little nugget right there, it's really important when your support system is exactly encompassing who it needs to encompass. My husband is the same way. And I think that, between nudging him with with new ideas, almost in the middle of the night, to waking up early, to rolling over and I'm not in the bed because I'm in the office and I'm just, writing those vision and making it plain. I know exactly what you're talking about. Shout out to the men, to the backbone.
Right. Yes. Just like they say, behind every strong man is a strong woman. And I won't say it's necessarily always true, but
right.
Definitely have to appreciate when you have that support from your partner in life.
Right.
As you mentioned, I've been at this whole influencer thing for a number of years now, dabbled blogging, YouTube, you name it, for almost 10 years now, but really within the past 3 years is where I've had most of my traction and where I really honed down and started treating this as a business and really started making investments into myself, whether it be equipment, resources, education, coaching, whatever you may have you, to really supercharge and create the life that I've been wanting for so long. I'm not quite there yet. I actually don't know if I'll ever be satisfied. I'm just being honest.
I feel you.
But I look back over at least the past 3 years and I'm like, especially when I'm like, oh, I don't have enough, or I'm not doing enough. I look back and I'm like, I have done
something. Okay.
Yeah, like, remember what it was like 3 years ago and you're like, oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, things have definitely moved. I'm very happy with where I'm at, but I get so much from helping others do what I do or want to do what I do. I feel so good being able to have these conversations, even if I could help inspire someone else or motivate someone else to get started on their dream or goal. That really is where I get my heart and feelings going. Like that, that's even more than the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get where you mean, because I think that there are some very special people on this earth when their light has gone off, and what that has looked like has meant it's not even about you.
Right.
Like, if you literally can inspire someone to dream again, or dig deep, or be okay with hearing no, because when it's time for your yeses to come along, right? It's like 1,000-fold, and being able to be in the right place at the right time, having the courage to maybe go to that mixer, or having the courage to maybe take a class that you've been wanting to take, writing down what exactly you love about you so that you can actually birth that process. And I think that, that's important. So when I hear fulfillment, and that's why I say the like-minded, because it's those things that we have within us that we've been able to tap into to say, okay, now how can this be of a blessing to someone else? So I think it's amazing. I wanted to note my 3 bold facts about you. Which you've mentioned the word brand, and you'll go through the Q&A. We'll be able to go deeper with that. But brand boss, mother and wife, and influencer, on top of all of the other hats that you wear. But when I think of bold, it is what you do on a daily, but then how you add a little bit of sugar and spice and everything nice in between. You know what I mean? And keep the juggling your time. Those who dream and dream big, there's never enough time in a day, because you'll look up and you'll go, okay, it's like the 23rd hour of 24 hours in a day. Like, okay, pick it up tomorrow. So if we can kind of go into a couple of questions, and you mentioned, having a wonderful support system to, building this platform. Tell us how you got to this point in building your platform. And we may not cover everything, but I think it's like the high level of how have you gotten to this point building your platform?
Absolutely. There are a few turning points for me 3 years ago. I did a whole new rebrand. I had a whole different entity for my blog at the time. And I decided to launch LifeByMJ. I had just gotten married, and I just really wanted to hone in to who I was becoming. I was dealing with a lot of infertility issues. Honestly, blogging and social media became an outlet for me to connect with like-minded or others who were also having the same struggles, or those who had overcome the same struggles. To also be honest, I had spent so many other years I wasn't really trying to build a platform, because I just knew I wanted to be in this space. Call it ego, call it what you want. I just really wanted to be on the internet and build connections with people. I just got tired of seeing everybody else doing it, and I wasn't. And it was just like, why not me?
Right.
Why am I not doing it? So I just had enough. And the one turning point for me was I finally bought a DSLR camera. And for those who don't know, know what that is. For me at the time, it was a worthy it was a big investment. It was like $800. I remember asking my husband, I'm like, I want to buy this camera. I feel like I need it so I can like finally do this. What do you think? And he's like, do what you want. Like, he wasn't thinking the way that I was. So I'm going to do this. I got to make my money back. Like, I got to have a plan. I'm happy to say within a year, I made $10,000. So I made more than that $800 back. I think back now, I'm like, man, what if I would have spent that $800 years ago?
Right.
Granted, I'm happy I did it 3 years ago. That was a huge turning point for me. That became a motivation. I knew I had to make money back for that. So I was like, I got to show up. I got to be consistent. I've got to start pitching myself to brands. I didn't know how to do that. So I got education and started seeking help on doing that. I started networking. I started showing up to events, and I did all that because I had this damn camera. I mean, it sounds crazy saying that now.
Right.
And that camera is still my old faithful. I've now updated the lenses and stuff because that's actually where it's at in terms of cameras. It's so funny how just one small thing, you know, $800, I mean, people spend money on Starbucks every single day. People spend money on all types of other things. Again, it was a worthy investment that I've made substantial money from. 2018, I made $10,000. 2019, I made $20,000, and this year I'm on track to make $50K. And none of that would have happened if I had not bought that.
Okay, listen, from the $800 investment, okay,
I know,
to not even knowing left or right. It's like, I know that I have this vision, and attaching now your vision to, it's like provision. Now you got to take those steps. You know, not really knowing where you're going to land or what's going to happen. I mentioned in your bio that you have had the opportunity to collab with amazing companies, Coca-Cola, Costco, Walmart. Tell us a little bit about that and like what that looked like.
Absolutely. I've been really fortunate, honestly, that these brands have trusted me to create content for them. A big part of it was because I was able to have a certain caliber of content by buying that camera, and also having a vision in terms of my branding and showing up on this platform, specifically Instagram. That's been my biggest platform to date. I am growing in other platforms at this point. That's a whole other thing. But Instagram is very powerful and a great place to start if you want to build your brand. It's never, ever too late. But I've been really fortunate to be able to work with these brands and negotiate with them. I've had some amazing doors open that I never thought would have been possible. And honestly, it's still surreal to me. I mean, my real name is Mallory, and I go by MJ on the internet. So sometimes it feels disjointed. Like, was that me?
Right. Yes.
But I'm really thankful, and it's just continued to be a domino effect from there. I began shooting my shot with brands back in 2000. I keep getting my dates. 2018. 2018. This is before I had 10,000 followers. It just became a domino effect for me. I started working with Palmer's. That was one of my first brand collaborations where I was paid. I then also landed a really big deal with Revlon. That was a life-changing experience. I pitched them, then worked with Medela, and I did a whole journey about my breastfeeding. Things just Johnson & Johnson, Walmart, Costco, they all just started coming in, and I've been able to, again, negotiate on different ideas on how to present their call to actions, but that would be appealing to my audience.
And I love that, because I was actually just getting ready to, or the thought came into my head of reaching out to a minority woman. And when you talk about building your platform, and we're living in some different unique times, it even, inspired me to go and actually seek or get some education around diversity and inclusion. And so even in this time, I wanted to know, like the impact of, like, you may think, well, we are very diverse, but are you inclusive of all minorities where everyone has a voice at the table? I get goosebumps when I think about, like, in them reaching out to you. It shows the efforts, right? And entrusting you and entrusting your platform and all that you entail to really boss up and give them something that they've never had before, which I think is amazing. Well, that's awesome.
If I can interrupt you for a moment, it is amazing. It didn't always start that way. I had to push open some doors. You know what I mean? And part of it was being consistent and showing up and putting value behind my content so that when I knocked on their door, they knew that I was coming from a place of substantial value as opposed to my handout. You know what I mean?
Right.
Still that way, to be perfectly honest. When I still collaborate with brands to this day, I say no to brands because it has to align to my audience or something that I actually enjoy. And if it doesn't fill those two buckets, I say no.
So important, because you would think for those who are like starting out or looking to what avenue that they can crack the social media, you know, platforms is, do I say yes to everything? I say it? You know, it's just so important when it's in alignment with you and who you entail.
And your audience will see through it if it's not. You know what I mean? Authenticity isn't necessarily all about just hanging out all your dirty laundry.
Right.
It's just staying true to who you are and your core and your niches and your audience and their needs has to align. And that's the one thing that I preach to my clients. If you don't feel excited about it, not excited about the money, let's take the money piece out. If you don't feel excited about their service offer or the product or it's not aligned to your audience where they can get value out of it, you probably shouldn't do it. It's been interesting. I've had clients where, I mean, huge corporations, and they're like, oh, you're right, MJ. I'm going to have to say no to this one because this isn't like, this is a huge deal, but it's just not aligned. I have to tell them when you do that, you're only strengthening yourself as a brand. You know what I mean? Because if you take this on, it's just going to throw everything off. And that's
they can circle back around when you're ready, you know, in terms of them getting in realignment with, you know, you as in knowing what you offer and how impactful your platform is. In mentioning having all of these, you know, opportunities and things like that, what advice would you give to someone like a professional or parent who's trying to juggle everything, you know, right? And I think time is the biggest thing that comes to mind, because I know for like myself in having my platform, in building it, dreams that come to me in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And I'll wake up with it on my mind and I'm like, did you sleep? You know?
Girl.
Listen, sleep is overrated.
Girl. This is outside of the tip. I actually have 2 notebooks on my nightstand. Yeah. One is like a journal and the other one is like execution notebook. And then I have a planner. Girl. I have so many things. Funny. But I would say in terms of, you know, the mamas or the people who are just juggling a lot, there's people who, you know, are caretakers, just got a lot going on.
Everything.
Multiple jobs. It's a lot. I would say take it a day at a time and begin with the end in mind. Begin with where you want to go and start working backwards. And this is what I do with my clients. What I do with my clients, a lot of people could do on their own. I just try to help clear through the muck, if that makes sense. Right. And put some strategy behind it. We start long-term, this is where I want to go. Okay, let's take some steps back. How do we get there to the point where you're at right now? Right. And then start building up and filling in those gaps. And sometimes you might not know everything in those gaps. That's where you get some help. That's where you outsource things. That's where you get some education. That's where you fill in those gaps. Be patient. That's probably I know that probably sounds so cliche, and I am working on practicing what I preach, because best believe I now have an online business manager. Shout out to JJ if she's watching this. She is a huge integral part of my business, but it's taken me time to get to this point, obviously.
Absolutely.
I'll throw her random ideas in the middle of the night because she helps me execute them now. But it wasn't always this way. Up until maybe a few months ago, I was doing most of the things on my own. But once I started, being patient and seeing how the results yielded over time, especially when I was doing everything myself, I was able to really pace myself and my expectations, if that makes sense. But I also say, if I could throw a bonus tip out there, outsource wherever you can. And it's not even just social media stuff, okay? I order my groceries to be delivered to my house. Yeah. That saves me time. I use Instacart. And
I hate going to the grocery store. Okay. Right. Like literally, especially with the million other things, you literally could be standing in front of the bread asking where's the bread because you have a post scheduled for 6 p.m. Like it's like literally.
Girl, it's really bad now. I mean, I order everything online, or if there's an app for it, I'm finding it. I started using Instacart after my daughter was born. Well, actually, I was on bed rest before my daughter was born. Okay. That's when I started using it, and I'm addicted. Like it's been 2 years season and it's been amazing.
Yeah.
If I could recommend anything to anyone, if you're able to afford it, outsource things, even things that you wouldn't even think are possible. There's probably an app or resource out there for it. Fiverr's great. Upwork is great.
All those apps, sis. Like, say that one more time. Like, we talk about outsourcing.
Yes, I'll repeat that. Instacart's great for the grocery shopping part. Fiverr and Upwork, they're both awesome in terms of outsourcing things for, you need your podcast edited, you need your YouTube edited, you need someone to help you with social media engagement or grow your Pinterest or whatever have you. Oh my gosh, they're amazing.
That's so awesome, because in being your authentic you, one of the things that I love about you is consistency.
Oh, thank you.
And I know it probably has taken time to like get it to where like you know, where you want it to be. But if someone were to go to your page right now, it's beautiful. It's consistent. The messaging is consistent. It's clean. Talk about brand. I know that behind the scenes, a lot of work goes into it. But if I can say from someone on the outside looking in, and especially having a platform and speaking to different audiences, it's just one of those things that when you come across one, I mean, you ain't got to dig. Like it's just, it's there.
Thank
and I'm
you.
sure so much, like I said, so much like effort and time has gone into that, which brings me to the question of, is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? What's kind of like and I know you mentioned Instagram has really been, you know, really helpful for you, but like, what is it? If someone were to be wanting to build a brand, is there a need to try to attack several different social media platforms? Or is it based on your audience? Like, what would you say? Like, what's your recommendation?
So this is what my clients come to me for. I get this question very, very often. You definitely can't do everything. It's just not possible.
Right.
And you can't do it all by yourself.
Right.
Unless you are working 100% from home, no kids, everything's covered.
Right.
Then yeah, you could probably do everything. Most likely you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. So I suggest typically that you find one foundational platform you want to work on. And when I mean by foundational, that's either a blog, a podcast, or video, which is typically YouTube. Right. And then you market that content on other platforms. Typically, I say to focus primarily in terms of those other platforms, Instagram and Pinterest. So let me take a step back up first in terms of those foundational platforms and why I feel like those are important. The reason why is because you own them. You guys remember what was happening with TikTok? You remember, if you recall from the past, before there was TikTok, the other video app that's not Snapchat. Snapchat is still happening, but it's not as hot as it used to be. Remember Vine?
Am I sounding outdated, MJ here?
Right? Remember Vine? Remember MySpace?
Yes. Okay.
Like, these are platforms that have come and gone. So it's not to say that Instagram's going away. I don't think that it's going to go away. I don't think TikTok is going away. In my opinion, they should not be your main platform because you don't own them. Like, you don't own any of these algorithms. There's people whose accounts have just been completely wiped out sometimes, and you no longer have your content anymore. If you own your URL, if you own your podcast and all this other content you create video, you have a home base.
Never heard it put like that, which is interesting because in owning it, you just it's limitless opportunities. I mean, you can do whatever with it, you know. I know for me, it finally was like, okay, Ashley, invest in a good platform. As you're building your brand, it's not cheap, you know. You have to invest in that camera, make the investment and let it work for you. And I think it's perfect how you put it. I love it.
So what you do once you figure out, okay, I want to do a podcast, or I want to do blogging, or I want to do video, you then use these social media platforms to promote that foundational content, your home base. And you can still post other stuff on there, but it becomes marketing content, if that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's social media marketing for a reason. So I typically suggest to my clients to focus on Pinterest and Instagram because they're very visual driven. I've only had a few clients do the podcast, but a lot of them will be very focused on blogging and YouTube, actually. Since those are very visually driven, Instagram and Pinterest yield a lot of traffic to those foundational platforms. And Pinterest is one of the top 3 search engines, actually. It fluctuates. It's used a ton. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sure you've gone down a
Yeah.
Pinterest rabbit hole.
Oh. And the ideas. It's like almost like get me off, but it's like going to Target for one thing and you're leaving with
right.
50. I mean, come on. I mean, listen, girl, look, they'll have me pass the sections that I just need to keep going. And then you add groceries. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I go in for some toilet paper and leave with 5 different outfits. It's something else. Thank you, because it can be really consuming and mind-boggling, and you could feel defeated if you don't feel like you are contributing, right, your time equally to every single platform.
It's not possible. That's why I say focus on a foundation at a time. Now, granted, here's the thing. Depending on the foundation you choose, you can repurpose like a pro is kind of how I look at it. If you do video is like king. Like video reigns supreme over everything. I mean, you've seen these YouTubers, like, they're living it up. Visual media, especially video, builds a whole different connection than just a static photo. That's why Reels is taken off so well. Right. Besides the point that Instagram's promoting it. And same thing with TikTok. You build these connections with people because you're seeing them move, and it's fluid, as opposed to a photo, beautiful, but it's static. You don't hear the voice. You don't hear the music and feel the energy. What's great though, if you decide to go with YouTube, for instance, just using that as an example, you can say you're educating people on a YouTube video. You can abstract that audio and use that as a podcast episode. Oh, you can
doing like 5 things in one where I don't have to separate it out. What?
Right. And then you could take that description from the YouTube video and utilize that as a blog post.
Oh my God.
Like, and then you can take little pieces of that and repurpose it on Instagram. Your thumbnail that you created, you got other photos too. You create Pinterest pins, and now you're driving all of this traffic.
I mean, wow. I'm
telling
so
all my
full right now because I'm like, listen, like I only have a little bit of your time.
I'm sorry.
But no, there's going to be some opportunities for you and I to work together. I think it's amazing because then you think about what's like the don'ts of social media. What is like something you just don't recommend in terms of content, or like what is like a kind of don't go there?
This might not answer your question directly, but I would say don't not show up.
True.
You know what I mean? And honestly, this is the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
We've seen all types of characters on here. Some people might like this one. If anything, this has taught us is that there's an audience for everyone. If you feel like nobody's going to want to give a damn about me knitting, let's just say knitting for instance, there's probably a Facebook group for it. There's probably a whole audience on Pinterest looking for it. You could make a YouTube video on it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're not the only one knitting out there. They just might not be in your immediate circle. So really don't not show up because you think no one will find it interesting. You're not doing it, but you're not putting your spin and your finesse on it and your personality on it. You know how many other people are doing what I do? And plenty. Curly hair girls. Oh, plenty.
But they ain't rocking it though.
But they're not me.
They ain't rocking that fro though. Like
it's too funny. They're not me. They're not MJ, and they're not gonna approach it exactly. I mean, no one's cookie cutter. So do not show up because you think no one will find it interesting, because that's what really stopped me most of my journey. Was I was like, oh, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not a model, I'm not this, no one's gonna care. When I finally stopped caring about that and just showed up and just tested things and saw what stuck and what motivated me to continue to show up, that's when everything changed.
But you hit like when you told yourself, like when you stopped, there's people who are watching that we both connected with that it has taken years. I'm one. It took me a while to say, Ashley, when would you have the time to do this? When, you know, you've been thinking it for so long, then you see people do it. And you're like, oh, but I thought that 5 years ago. So putting your spin on something because you are your authentic you is just, that's your gift. That's you digging deep. And I think that's really important for those who are entrepreneurs and those who are wanting to build your brand and influence in your special way, that give you a shot. Like be gentle with yourself. You know, it's so funny. I was getting my lashes done today, right?
They're looking
Shout out to Tati at Cherry Lash. I see my lashes, girl, Cherry is amazing. But I was getting my lashes done, and we were talking about how we are so gentle with everyone else. It's gonna be okay. Keep your head up. girl, if you don't get to do that again, if you don't make that move, da, 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 da. But it's always you. What about I? What about I? Those things that I've been thinking about, why don't you give you a shot to say,
right.
Girl, you can do that. Look, a nugget could be literally getting your friends together, going to coffee or lunch, safely, socially distanced, right? We can get that done. And just picking out the discussion, like seeing what is interest, or brings interest to those, and what kind of things that they say. And next thing you know, you're picking up to say, like, I could actually be leading a group of ladies and men, to understand that we are stronger together.
Absolutely.
When we're connected in so many ways. And I think it's really important. What's a favorite quote of yours?
It's something that I say quite often. I can't take credit for it, but many people say it. Less is more. And I have to remind myself of this sometimes, because I'm a bit bougie. I'm a little extra sometimes. However, taking those incremental steps in life, even if you're trying to lose weight or whatever it is, eat better, or however you put it, taking those little incremental steps towards whatever you're striving towards, that's where you really see the difference. Just being very laser focused in a sense, that Mamba mentality. I mean, you look at Kobe Bryant, and we celebrate him, for instance, and this man was a phenomenal basketball player. And I know that sounds simple, but it goes to show you less is more. This man perfected the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just really honing in, doubling down on what you want to do. Again, taking those baby steps towards wherever you want to go, because it ain't going to happen over time. You see these people blow up overnight, but what you're not seeing is all those years where they stumbled and fall and things fell flat. They didn't get the likes, they didn't get the shares, they didn't hit the explore page. You're only getting a snapshot. I try to tell myself that mantra, multiple times a week as I continue to build my business, that less is more. Take it a day at a time.
That is so important, because when you think about in offering up an explanation, when you say no, why do you feel like you have to explain yourself when you have worked so hard to get you where you're trying to go, but then you feel like you have to offer an explanation? My mother tells me that all the time. Actually, less is more. Less is more. Throughout these days of why, and I'll catch myself.
Same. I had it happen today, and I was like, just stop. That's enough.
Like, if you don't stop, now listen, you are talking too much.
Yep. I've been there. Like, you explained it already.
Right. My no is let your no be your no. Like, let your no be your no.
I like that.
And be okay with it. Because I feel like once you've worked so hard for something, then when you start to explain, it's kind of like you're backtracking. To feel like you have to explain why you've made the moves that you've made to people who do not deserve to be in your audience.
No, I agree. Not everyone is meant to understand your path. And I know that can be really lonely. And I've been there before. Yeah. I'm really fortunate that once I really started putting myself out there, and before social distancing, there were events and things that I can go to, but I would go by myself. Yeah. And now to build relationships in a COVID area, social media has been a great way. I mean, look at you and I doing this right now.
Amazing. And you think of all these different, should I do it on this? Should I do it on this? But this is in being your authentic you. Girl, if you don't get on your Instagram and talk and share those nuggets that people are craving, you've dropped some amazing nuggets today. I mean, it's one of those things where everyone can see you on social, but when you're able to kind of dig deep and connect in a way that someone hasn't before, that's the gym. It's amazing that we can now get to the point where people have heard, about your platform. I always like to plug. And what I mean plug is I have no shame in saying, I want you to plug your website. I want you to share how someone can support your business, your platform, mentioning that you do life coaching and all of that good stuff. If you could just take a few seconds and just share, how can someone support you? And then we're going to talk about, like, for for a little bit, like what's next? Like what we got up, you know, which we ain't got no sleeves, but what we got up your sleeve, you know?
I love it. Thank you, Ashley. In terms of supporting me, or if you want to work with me, I do offer coaching. I offer one-on-one coaching. What I do is provide my clients a roadmap. Remember that whole planning and strategy that we were talking about earlier? So I help you figure out your long-term vision, and I create for you that whole structure from where you're at to where you want to go. And we typically work together anywhere from 3 to 6 months to start implementing that. I keep you accountable. I help you show up and start seeing actions and changes, not only in your mindset, but on your platforms. So you can start making some money, building those connections, and having a long-term brand. What I basically do is just show you exactly what I've done that's worked for me. And this works in multiple ways, whether you have a service-based business, whether you're wanting to be a blogger or influencer or YouTuber, or if you have a product that you're wanting to utilize social media to grow your brand. And then I'm also on LifeByMJ, LifeByMJ.com, but then also my Instagram. Definitely show some love. And I gotta say this, just because y'all gotta show love on those sponsored posts, because
say it again, sis.
I need y'all to show love on those sponsored posts, because I worked hard for those relationships.
Yes.
If you ain't gonna show up for my little kid pictures, I need you to show up for my sponsored posts.
Funny, because I've subscribed to your newsletter and I get excited. Like, I get excited when I get it, like when it hits my inbox, because I don't know what it's gonna say. And being MJ, like you are what you see, how you lay out your content, your presentation, but then also feeling like when it hit my inbox, it's only coming to me.
I'm so happy to hear that.
That's important. And I'm like, oh, I saw the one today, and I was like, ah, get the hyperlinks, girl. Get the
I'm so happy to hear
know, but it's just amazing though, in asking how someone can support you and things like that. In sharing, in commenting, if it's been inspirational, say something. Please. Let us know. It's so important, because as we have both said, things come to us in our sleep. When we get up, we write it down. We're building this content. We put it out. We want to know, like, how do you guys feel about it? You know, how has it impacted you? How has it inspired you? Is it something that you're yay or nay about? Let us know either way, because being in this arena, it really is important for us to know, you know, how you feel. How you feel.
Feedback is really important. I'm so glad you said that, because I tell people, don't be afraid to shoot me a DM. Don't be afraid to reply to my story or reply to my email even. And I've had people do that, and I love having those intimate moments. Please leave a like, leave a comment on my post. But, you know, even if you want to take it private, we can have a whole side conversation. Let's have it. Let's do that, because I'm showing up for you. I mean, granted, I'm showing up for me as well, but I don't want to be talking to myself.
No, I totally get it. And it feels, like I said, I think when the connection it's there, and it's something that you're so passionate about, and someone's like, ooh, and then it's like, scroll. No, let me backtrack what that looks like. Okay. In the life of, say, MJ or Ashley, if it's something that you like it, comment, share it. That didn't require you to purchase anything.
Nope.
You know, these are authentic ways for you to actually connect with us. And then, you know, that's actually how you're building relationships. Once things are back in full swing for safe events, when we connect in person, it'll be like as if we've always known each other. It's like, girl, I have been following you for and it feels so good, because then they can say, remember when you posted about, you know, having, you know, girl, and then it's like it opens up a whole can. It's that personal connection, which is so important. I so appreciate you, MJ, seriously, for connecting with us this evening, being busy, wearing the many hats. I know your baby girl's probably right outside your door or something. I know she's
with the great grandparents. She getting everything she wants right now. Thank you.
You're like, you will not interrupt. I know mine are downstairs. Okay. I know if Gigi could join, she would. Before we go, I know we have about 10 more minutes. What's next for you?
What I'm doing is really breaking apart my two different entities with my coaching and my lifestyle brand, LifeByMJ. I've really been operating under one hub to get super intentional with the two. I'm actually segregating the brands. I fought against it for a really long time, because I was like, I can't manage two brands. I still invest in coaching and things like that, and really taking a look at my why and my purpose and what I like showing up and doing, I really feel that I could become intentional by separating the two, still provide value by having them separate. There's going to be crossover,
Right?
More or less. But with that said, I'm looking at expanding a Life by You coaching, if that makes sense.
Love it.
Help others build a life of their own using the tools of social media. Got some great things in the works, some things that are really just going to help individuals take some incremental steps at a different pricing point if you're not able to afford my coaching, because it is an investment.
Investment. In order to see something that you've never seen before, you're going to have to do something that you've never done before. Even through my consulting, it's been one of those things that, like, you look at what their niche is. How can I help you be a better you? And then we work together, we build that out. It's not one price, one shoe fits for all. It literally it's customizing, you know, to what your needs could be. So that's awesome.
But I'm looking at doing some things that will be a little bit more self-paced, but still providing my guidance and oversight in a sense. So there's some great things coming up for 2021. And then on the Life by MJ side, the lifestyle content, I've decided that I'm finally going to really embark on a YouTube journey. I've helped some other clients with it. It's something that's been on my heart for a number of years. I've actually just always been afraid of it for some reason. It's really, for me, the final frontier in terms of domination. So
because you know what, again, it's finding that foundation, right? And you know, just going at it. And that's something that too, like, I want to actually expand and use more of that platform. Audience there and the reach is substantial.
It's the second most used search engine. So Google owns it. Google's number one, YouTube's number two. For me, taking a different approach in terms of my content creation using platform, going back to how I was saying, repurposing like a pro, basically taking segments of that content and then marketing it on other places is really going to make my life easier. Once I started looking at it that way, I was like, why am I not doing this? Because I was already telling my clients to do it.
Right.
So I really needed to practice what I preached. I'm really excited about it and really getting back to the roots of what Life by MJ is. Yeah, so that's what's coming up for me.
I am so excited. I just love seeing a Black woman win. It's pushing through to obtain, you know, that greater potential, which is so amazing, because I think that, you know, there's so many things are thrown our way, and sometimes it catches us off guard, and then sometimes when it hits, it's like, but get back on your feet. Dare to dream again. Write it down. Right? Literally, a nugget that we both want you to walk away with is write it down.
Yes.
You think about so much. You think about trying to do so many things. But if you were to take just that one thing out of many and master it, when you look back, it literally is like, I did that.
I'll say one thing to tie in on that. Write it down and execute. You know what I mean? It's one thing to write it down, but now you need to do the work. Just like how you mentioned about falling down and getting back up again. Don't be afraid to do that.
Yeah.
And I still get afraid to do it. When you do fall down and you get back up, you're back up with a different spirit. And you can either let that conquer you or propel you to try again and come at it a whole different way or with a whole different level of experience. That really becomes your strength. So
it does. And I like that, because when you think about too, who you surround yourself with. I know a lot of boss women, but they're bossing up in their bubble because you think that you need everyone on board, which it is heavy. You start to take in their thoughts, their opinions, that everything that you're trying to do, you cannot be trying to take a team with you. You execute, you need to boss up. And you need to listen to your inner to say, I got this. Be careful with what you share before you can even execute, because next thing you know,
girl,
listen, you got some tea, sis. Where's your cup?
I got my water, but yes.
I hear from so many of my clients that they connect with me and they're just like, oh, like I tried and I went this way. And the next thing you know, they just feel so defeated.
I know.
Because they haven't been able to rise above water because they've been so focused on what people think about them. Is it gonna work? You literally have to put on your best high heel, your best shoe. It could be tennis shoes. Okay, listen, and go for it.
Yes. Go
for it without and knowing you will fall. But you just have to have that mindset of, I got this.
Yep.
I can do it because I know that I've dreamed it. I've thought of it. It's been in me.
That resonates with me so much. And when I started out, my family in particular, I love them to death. They're huge supporters. But when I first started out, they were like, so what you doing, Mallory? You trying to model? What are you doing? Oh, I saw your little blog thing. It's a whole different mindset, and it's not meant for everyone to understand. Now things have transformed to a different point where it's like, oh, I saw what you're doing. How are you doing that? You know what I mean? So it goes from what you're doing to how are you doing it?
Right.
And the only way it gets to that point is consistency and drive and perseverance.
Yeah.
And perseverance, I feel like, is key because the perseverance will get you through those highs. Yeah. And it will get you through those lows because the lows are going to happen. And
they hurt. And I think it's moving past pain and navigating through pain to not let everything that is said to you, letting it settle where we know that, you know, our soul, you know, our being, you're attacking it's the dreams and the visions that we have. And I think it's different. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to do some things with you. I'll be reaching out.
I know, girl. We should have did this before, and I'm so glad
long time ago.
I know.
But I really appreciate your time, sis, and I'll be in touch. And I think it's just an amazing way for us to just show others that through the hard work, the dedication, truly the flowers will bloom. You just have to water them.
You gotta plant those seeds so they blossom.
That's it. And be careful who you watering your seeds with. I'm just saying.
Right. Now, didn't I tell you guys that Ashley is just so infectious? She is just such an inspiration, isn't she? Also, if you're still struggling with branding, then I would love to help you out. My one-on-one coaching program not only helps you create a stronger and cohesive brand, but it also helps you deploy a social media strategy that will help you gain traction with your ideal audience and customers. If you're feeling like you've been posting on Instagram but can't seem to convert more followers or customers, then let me create a personalized social media strategy roadmap for you. It will help you streamline all your efforts towards your long-term goal, save you time and energy, and the best thing about it is it will be on your own terms. You know, I'm all about authenticity, and I believe that everyone should have their own playbook. Let me help you create yours using all the trial and errors I've already done so you don't have to. Schedule a free 45-minute strategy session so we can chat more about your goals and we can get started as soon as possible in the link in the show notes. I'll talk to you guys soon, and I'll see you next week.